All right. So first, thanks everybody. Jack, I'm going to let you run the chat and fire the questions at me if they come in. I've only
Okay, you
got
got
one
it.
screen and I'm on a laptop. So, but let's go ahead and get this started. So first, I really just want to thank everybody for coming today. Had a great time seeing all the track speakers and really getting to see across the tracks. A special thanks goes out to Jack, Sarah, and B for hosting the 3 tracks and allowing me to be kind of behind the scenes, observing and seeing how everything went. So first, I really want to talk about VetSec a little bit and just how proud I am of the organization. VetSec was founded back in February of 2018, started as a Slack channel and quickly became a registered 501c3 nonprofit here based in the United States. Over the first year and a half, membership grew rapidly to 1,500 plus members. And the first board that took over from the original founder began outreach with the InfoSec community. In the spring of this year, they put on a VetSecCon Junior event that was internal to VetSec Slack, and had experts within the VetSec community give presentations, much like you saw today. A lot of them focused on mentorship, resume assistance, and technical topics, and they were fantastic. The original board also secured a partnership with a wonderful organization, eLearn Security, and through eLearn's generosity, we were able to award 10 penetration testing student vouchers, 5 pen testing professional, and 1 pen testing extreme voucher to some of our members this year. Myself and the 4 other board members that I'll introduce here took over in June of this year and have been continuing with partnership building and planning and putting on VetSecCon 2020 here. That being said, so a little bit about VetSec. VetSec's a nonprofit that focuses really on education and professional growth for currently serving military members and veterans in the IT and cybersecurity field. Really, if you look back at the VetSecCon website when you registered to join us, you know, it's a kind of a personal vision that, hey, any veteran that gets out that's seeking employment in cybersecurity shouldn't go unemployed, and anything that we can do along those lines to help further that mission is kind of where we focus. So our structure, again, like I said, we're a US-based 501c3 registered nonprofit. All donations to the organization are tax deductible, and all funds go directly to support that mission statement. We're a 5-member board, all volunteer. VetSec was veteran founded and veteran operated and always will be. Again, my name is Tom Marsland. I'm the board chair. I'm still on active duty, but transitioning here shortly. Vice Chair Jack, who is hosting today. Secretary B. Zhang, who is also hosting over on the transition track. Treasurer Brennan Pace, and our member at large, Tom Williams. He's also a serving board member on Mental Health Hackers. So how do we do it? You know, what are our funding sources? Largely in part, over the last year and a half, 2 years that we've been around, it's been through Patreon, and the links are here on the slides. Patreon has been a tool for us to collect funds from our members internally who have transitioned successfully into InfoSec and want to find ways to give back and help. Largely in part, those funds have just been banked as an organization. We don't have a lot of expenses. Our website, hosting, our domain name, that's really been about it. A few small things that we've done, you know, making some stickers and coins for the members. That's really about it. Amazon Smile is our second funding source, and for anybody here that's not a VetSec member or that is and doesn't know about it, please consider adding us as your charity of choice on Amazon Smile. Again, that's no money out of your pocket. Just when you do those Black Friday shopping and Cyber Monday shopping and the Prime Day, all that stuff, any little extra kickback from that will come to us. And then we also are a 501c3 charity, so we can collect through PayPal, and PayPal doesn't take out any fees as well. Operating expenses that we're looking at over the next year largely is going to be the Slack, which I'll talk about in our offerings. And then our funding sources to date have been through partnerships, and really those are just donations in kind by the organizations that we've reached out to. You know, and through their generosity, we've been able to pass along those vouchers and training resources to our members. So what are our offerings as a community? the biggest thing is the Slack. And right now we have about 2,330 members. We have approximately 400 that are active week to week, meaning they're actively messaging in the channels, providing guidance to members. We have 48 open channels, and they range from digital forensics, incident response, pen testing, capture the flags, mental health, job discussions. We've got a channel dedicated just to job listings, and then some just general chatter discussions for our veterans. Second offering that I think really helps on the mental health perspective, we are a solely veteran community. There are no outsiders allowed unless you were or are serving in the military in some form. In our mental health channel, though, Sarah, our host today on our technical track, started up an initiative that she calls Battles in Binary, and really it's through a partnership with her and that group. She gets us all together a couple times a month to just sit down and talk mental health. She's got some plans for topics here in the future where we'll kind of have some themed events, but really it's a time where we can get on Zoom and we can just talk about what's going on in our lives, whether it's COVID, whether it's, anything that we're dealing with our transitions, with being stuck at home, with job searches, everything. And it's been wonderful for the members. We provide some resume advice, mentorship, and mock interviews. That's really just from our members donating their time back. We've got some members that work in job recruiting, tons of members that work across the fields as experts in just the full gamut of cybersecurity. And they've provided a lot of their time to, they see a question in one of the channels that they're lurking in, and they come back and take time and answer those members. And that's been great to see. And then partnerships and learning resources. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, as you've seen here over the last 2 days, VetSecCon. So our partnerships. See if I can get this window to get out of my way here. Anyways, eLearn Security. So I touched on that, the 16 vouchers that they donated. The second thing that we were really proud of to be able to secure this year was we did a scholarship. It was 2 members were awarded a 30-day voucher to the penetration testing with Cali, offered by Offensive Security. They donated those vouchers to us. And given that they were only 30 days, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be members who had a good chance of being successful. So we developed an application process for them where they had to go through and pen test a box that was developed internally. So they couldn't look up walkthroughs or anything like that. There was a couple of other capture the flag style challenges as they went, reading source code on websites, a little bit of steganography, a little bit of password cracking, and then they were able to download the virtual machine, pen test it, and give us the flags out of it, really is how we kind of proved that they got through that. CyberSec Labs donated 2 3-month vouchers and also 4 1-month vouchers. We took applications for the 1-month vouchers. The 3-month vouchers we bundled into the Offensive Security scholarship that we awarded. Additionally, through Hack the Box, another kind of premier pen testing, capture the flag website, they donated 20 vouchers to us for this year. Those were 6-month VIP vouchers, and we bundled 2 of those into the scholarship. One organization that has never sponsored a nonprofit before, Virtual Hacking Labs, committed to donating 2 of their 1-month vouchers every month through the remainder of the year. That started back in August. And then we're going to revisit that partnership in January and discuss moving forward with more or the same, and just kind of see how the feedback has gone. But those are worth a significant amount of money. The training that they provide is pretty top notch. Kaspersky gave us 5 seats for Yara training, and our members have had great feedback through that. And then, as I mentioned yesterday at the Wrapup, Dave Gollin from Cyber Media has been interviewing some of our members and discussing their stories online and giving us some press in that form. So what's next? So really it's increased partnerships, Grant applications are kind of the way that we can expand to these opportunities. We have a couple members who have some experience in that field, and they're helping us out. The mentorship program, this is something that we've been working on, kind of cracking the nut for a while. But really, it's finding a way to pair new members with an experienced member in that given field. It's helping find those new members, what facet of cybersecurity do you want to go into? And once you do, hey, direct them to a channel. Hey, here's a guy that's willing to sit down with you for a little bit and provide some mentorship on how you can do that. And you see it mentioned on the slide, a learning path, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. As James Murphy from TechVets talked about, there's tons of resources online that are accessible for learning a wide variety, whether it's the Portswigger Academy for web app pen testing, whether it's Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Over the Wire. There's tons of resources out there, and a lot of them are on par with the stuff that you'd pay a lot of money for. Some of them, there's no way around it. You have to pay money, whether it's a certification test or whatnot. But we're working on putting some of those together, working with the experts that are members of VetSec to build learning paths for members. So you want to be a pen tester, hey, here's how you should go about doing that. Here's what you should learn first. Here's what you should learn second. And we're going to help you along the way with that. Whether it's providing through partnerships, discounts to those courses, or flat out, buying the vouchers for those certifications. And through some of those grant applications, we're hoping to get some more money here in the next year to cover those operating expenses. So a member goes through and they watch, all the Professor Messer videos for Security Plus, and we guide them to find some Security Plus tests online, some practice exams that we think are pretty good. And they take them and do really well, and they've kind of proven to us that they're ready. Maybe we'll be able to just go out and buy the voucher for them to take that test. And then finally, on kind of the what's next is VA transition assistance programs, military base leadership, family resource centers, and Google advertising. We need to get our word out there. And that's where everyone that's here today comes in as well. Social media is a wonderful tool. And word of mouth is great. We need to also reach back to those bases and get in touch with them and help find those members that are working on that transition. Through Google alone and their sponsorship of our nonprofit, we get $10,000 monthly in Google Ads credit. So being able to leverage that and target military, target reservists, target National Guards members, and help bring them into VetSec. As I talked about before, there's 100,000 people-ish separating from the military every single year. We have 2,300 members. It's great, and we're doing a lot, but there's a lot more people that we can reach. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of central contacts for the transition assistance programs across the Department of Defense. That's just an unfortunate reality that we face. I've talked to some leaders across the TAPS programs at different bases, and they're provided, hey, here's the federal law for what we have to tell our military when they're separating, but they don't share resources. They don't talk to each other. They don't share those companies that are helping. There's a lot of ways moving forward in this, DoD Skill Bridge, Onward Opportunity, and places like that. But even those guys fight to get their word out. So anything that we can do to continue to get that word out is going to be best. That's really it for the what's next. The board serves for a period of a year, and then we really hold a public vote and elect a new board, and some of us might choose to stay on, some might not, but that's kind of our goals for the next year, and I'm happy to take questions on that. I will share, this isn't final yet, this is kind of a draft, but I will share one thing we've been working on. I said these learning paths, kind of you have to get your feet wet in cybersecurity, and then you have to kind of learn about what you want to do and what that individual path is going to be for you, whether it's incident response or blue team, red team, you name it. This is kind of what we've put together for the foundational path. And kind of that they see at the end, there's these 5 areas: pen testing, monitoring and detection, incident response, threat intel, and GRC. This is just a draft, and this is something we're working through, but it starts with, hey, let's get them to take a course on how to learn online. We are a registered Fortinet Academy, and all of those certifications are free for our members. So after that, let's have them look a little bit and learn about what cybersecurity is all about. And then there's some courses from SANS that are free on operating systems, Linux, the Linux command line, and then we go through CompTIA, and we provide ways that members can get those certifications, whether it's the COOL program if they're still on active duty, or whether it's in partnership with us, spending a little bit of our funds to go help that. We provide practice tests and everything here. Once the member completes this track, as it were, then we look at, okay, they know something about what the foundations of cybersecurity are. Some of our members already do, and that's wonderful, but some don't. And once they get through this, then we can sit them down with somebody who's an expert in threat intel, and they can talk to them about what that field's like and see if they want to get into that, or GRC, or incident response. And we're going to work over the next months to develop further on paths. Okay, you've decided you want to be a penetration tester. So we talk to eLearn Security, and we work on helping you get that EJBT. And we look at Hack the Box and other resources to help you prep for the OSCP. And that's where partnerships, and that's where that grant money is going to come into play. Our organization primarily focuses on those members who are transitioning, but we want to do more, and we want to help everybody across the gamut of experience. So maybe there's a mid-level professional who needs some help skilling up. What resources can we find for them as well? So finally, I'd like to thank everybody that came out today. I'd like to thank our hosts again, Jack, Sarah, and B. And I'd like to give a special thanks out to our sponsors, CrowdStrike, Layer 8 Conference, and Quadrant Information Security. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Through their sponsorships alone, we were able to raise $4,500. Some of that covers the costs of running this event over the last 2 days, and some of that's going to go to great use here in the future. I'd like to ask everyone that's tuning in today to please consider adding us to your Amazon Smile. If you're up for a monthly donation, we have a Patreon. And again, that link was on my previous slides, and I'll get that shared out. And you can also go to donate.vetseccon.com and make a one-time donation there. With that, that's all I had for everybody. I know it's shorter than the 1 hour block, but I'd like to open the floor to questions at this time.
Yeah, ask away, please. That sounded more like begging than a request, but yeah, it's really inspiring to see so many people come together. I mean, this isn't tech-focused veteran service organizations, or there's a lot of them out there, and the question always is that, like, once you raise that beacon of like, hey, we're interested in supporting this, you get great membership. I mean, we have 2,000 people in a couple of years, but then becomes a question of like, who's actually going to how are you going to run with that? And it's been really inspiring to see such a community-driven effort in VetSec to actually do something with it. Like, hey, we made a con, and it's it's been very cool. So thank you so much. Any questions at all?
I see Dan's comment about registering with PayPal nonprofit. I don't think we have, so that's something.
Yeah, good point.
To look at for sure. That's awesome.
Let's see. Yeah, since we have a great way to help is the transition programs they're pretty decentralized. So Tom has good access to the people at his Navy base, for instance, but they don't necessarily have a uniform network. So a great way to help is if you do have a military related email address, if you can stock your local transition rep and give us that email address, that's huge, because then it's off to the races and they have to listen to the pitch. But that's half the battle. John, okay, has VetSec considered making any relationship with academia, pref where students can use their GI Bill? Well, I think Tom should weigh in here too. In my experience in this space it's a balance between, we have legitimacy as an org by being sort of a neutral party, and that not so much we officially endorse Penn State or WGU, because then it becomes a question of like, well, are you recommending these guys because it's a good program, or because because you have some sort of relationship with them as an org. So I guess my first take is that I like to first aggregate, networks of schools that are familiar with VetSec, and we have like relationships with their admissions departments versus, any tight relationships. But Tom, what do you think about that? Because I mean, this is your show.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. One thing that I've been very careful to try and do, when eLearn Security came out with the previous board and they awarded us the 16 vouchers, we wanted to be very careful to not, their agreement was that we give them press for it, right? That we have our members review their products and give them press. And we never wanted it to feel like we were giving them press and saying it was great for this because they gave it to us, right? So the same thing if we pair up and talk about colleges and universities, there's a ton of discussion going on right now in our Slack, specifically about 4-year degree programs and where to go use that GI Bill. But just like with the voucher programs, I want it to be an honest review. If a member gets a voucher to hack the box and they say, you know what, I used this to prep for the OSCP and it didn't help me one bit, I feel comfortable putting that out there to our members that, hey, this wasn't a great resource. Let's go find something better for them. We had a member ask today about one of the for-profit universities that were out there. And there were a bunch of us that chimed in and said, that really wasn't a great deal for us. So I wouldn't spend your money there. I'd consider going elsewhere with it. So same thing. I'd be interested in finding ways that we can help our members use their GI Bill for stuff that's going to help them in cybersecurity. Computer science degrees are a great way to go. There's a lot of certifications in our industry that members can't use that for. One thing we've been able to bring up is the VR&E program, the vocational rehab. We have some members that are taking great advantage of that. And that's another program that we've been talking about, but really any way we can get our hands on that. Going back to the questions really quick, I'm going to scroll up. We did ask about, Ken said he's very interested in that foundational path. I'm going to get that once we pretty it up a little and get it vetted through a couple more experts. I'm happy to post that. Really long term, if I got to talk vision with that, is, if we're going to become an organization or be able to help fund some of those things more, like a Security Plus voucher, we've got to have a way of knowing that, hey, the member isn't just saying that they took a practice test and they're ready for it. We want to make sure that the money's going to good use, that people are going to be successful. So one thing I'm interested in is a learning management where we can load those paths in, member can sign up, and we can actually see them as they progress through that. And, whether it's an upload of a screenshot showing that they did that or what, but yeah, I'm happy to get that roadmap posted as often as I can. Derek asks if we're going to receive an email with recordings, links, and all the slides. I'm going to take the registered email list, and once we get those recordings up, and anyone that did give us their slides, we'll be happy to get that out. Absolutely. Yeah, email notification. Brad asks if there was any thought to opening up membership to military spouses and dependents. I'll give my take, and then I'm happy to let Jack and anybody else weigh in.
Sure.
It isn't just about the educational benefits. It isn't just about the resources. To be perfectly and honest and frank with you guys, there's a lot of stuff that we talk about in our mental health channels and then other channels that are sensitive to the veteran community. And that's why we don't have sponsors coming in. CrowdStrike came back to me after they agreed to sponsor us, and really after they cut me a check, and they said, oh, by the way, can I get a list of everyone's email addresses, names, and contact info? I was like, yeah, that's not happening. And it's the same kind of thing with letting people that aren't veterans into the organization. And as much as there are some spouses that would be happy to take advantage of those resources, and I'd love to help military spouses, my take is that that's not the focus because of the sensitive nature of some of the stuff we do talk about. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, so I have a fair bit of experience in another VSO called Operation Code. And first, if you have a military spouse interested in getting into tech, that'd be my absolute recommendation is go join OpCode. They are they have more of a tech generalist focus, but they do welcome non-military affiliated and military spouses. So not so much pros and cons, but just different trade-offs from doing that. But if you have, I'd 100% recommend joining that if that's something you're interested in. And I'm posting the link now. And they have a very large Slack group. What was I going to say on that note? Yeah, so what goes on in the background, and which I think has been proven out by VetSec's success in the last year, is a lot of entities want to help support the veteran mission, so to speak, and it really gives us a great selling point to be just military. And this was my experience doing some advocacy for opcode, is that the companies definitely want to do this, but they want to reach the target audience. And yeah, of course, like you don't want to bend over backwards as an organization for whatever company opens up support, but at the same time, that is a huge selling point. But also it's how we get support. It's how you get a VHL subscription for a private trying to leave the army, so to speak. So it's a balance. The trade-offs, which I've really thought a lot about, and I think there's other ways to get at this, is that I think a successful military transition means understanding what you keep from in my case the army, and understanding what's got to stay behind, and having non-military inside the community can definitely help with that, because you have to interact with them. But I think we have other ways of getting after that, which has been a big focus of our growth in the last 6 months. So I do think the moment where the trade-off of having just veterans inside it is worth it. However, it definitely it creates some spots that we have to dial into as a result. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave of Cyber Media is asking if we're connected with Student Veterans of America. That's not an organization I've reached out to yet, but I'm gonna take that down and take a look. Sarah's asking, who do we contact if we want help with VOC rehab? Sarah, in the Slack channel, Jason. We've talked to Jason a few times. He is the guy that I know that's the resident expert on it. He's actively using it right now, but throw a post out there in the VA transition, the VA channel, and I'm sure there were people that are going to reach back on that. Chris is asking opinions on a job board on vetsec.com where members can post links and job announcements from companies they work for. I think that's definitely something worth taking a look at. We have the job listings in the Slack, trying to find ways to expand that out to, I know there's a lot of people that are members of VetSec. We have 2,300 members that are members, but we only have about 400 that are active in the Slack. So finding ways to put that up, those resources outside of the Slack, is a great way to look into that. We have a couple guys looking at ways to integrate Slack to a website and have some form of multi-factor authentication, really making it easier for the board. So we're not going through and looking at an application for a Slack, vetting the guy, and then having to make him an account on a website and a Slack and a job board. And that's a nut we've got to crack, and we can take that down to take a look at for sure. But yeah, as B says, as a registered nonprofit, we must not deviate far from the mission of helping vets, going back to the spouse and dependent talk. We are very tied into the IRS's rules for, hey, we are a registered 501c3, and we have to follow the mission statement that we said when that paperwork was filed. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, I just want to say, I've been a member of VetSec now for 11 months. I've been on the board as the chair since June, and I'm really just amazed at the organization and just everything that all members that are in the Slack do. Sorry about that, my husky's going nuts. But I'm just amazed at what all the members do to help each other, and it's been great to see. It's been a great resource. From the mental health help, dealing with COVID, dealing with everything else. It's just been an amazing organization to be part of. I'm proud of what we have accomplished, and I can't wait for the future. Jack, anything to add?
Yeah, it's been, where's the dog? It's a good looking dog. We can wonder if, where's my dog at? I think she's out. Anything to add? Man, this was intense. It was really cool. It was inspirational. I'm glad you guys listened to my musings on by voice for the last couple hours. Thank you so much. The number one thing you can do, it doesn't so much matter to me if you join VetSec or not, although of course I'd advocate that you do, is when a veteran or someone who's still active duty asks for like how do they start, just give them the time of day. Just find 5 to 10 minutes, and then link them with someone else. That's huge, and that's really the number one way to help what VetSec tries to support. So yeah, pay it forward, right? That's what it's all about. So thank you. And oh, Sarah asked what the next event is. On my radar, it's getting the mentorship program stood up. That's going to be sort of limited in scope, I think, just to see how it works and figure out the infrastructure. But that's on my radar. Tom, you got anything short term you're thinking of?
I think it goes right in line with what you're saying, Jack. I will say, as far as a specific event, I don't know if Sarah's getting at Battles in Binary, but we do have a Battles in
Probably,
Binary
yeah.
coming up. But aside from that, the mentorship program, one of our members, and I were talking last night after the con finished, we were donated 10 Zoom licenses, right? And we're only using 3 or 4 to put on the con. The way Zoom does it, you have to buy them in bundles of 10 when you get up to the number of participants we had. So one thing we're talking about is, hey, let's just put those Zoom licenses in the Slack. And if somebody's working on Hack the Box at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at home, and they just want to work on it on Zoom with their screen shared, and anybody can come in and ask questions or help them out, we're looking at something like that too. So I think we're going to do that in 2 or 3 of the channels that might lend themselves to something like that. And if people hop in and take advantage of it, be like a shared service Zoom account for people, anything they want to do like that. And then the mentorship program Ken's asking about, when we get that up, we'll definitely put that out on our website, on social media, and in the Slack, so to help anybody with those transitions.
Alrighty. What time is it? Cool. Well, this has been sick. Yeah, actually, since he's online right now, Tom basically pulled this out of his head in the past couple months. So he's a very modest individual, but I'm in school right now. I'm also working, so I kind of like went to ground for a few weeks, and this has been Tom's baby, and it's it's a real testament to his leadership. And also, he got promoted to E9, and I keep saying that, but that's a huge achievement, man. So now that we're all here and everyone has to listen to it, you should be proud of that. And I think it really speaks to you. So, I think probably everyone knows what E9 is, but officially you've like joined the Illuminati of the NCO Corps. So it's a big deal. And, all right. Yeah, I'm good, man. You got anything else?
I don't. Just thank you everybody for coming, and we will catch you at our next event. We're definitely going to do some internal stuff for members to present to members on the Slack. So check out the Slack. If you're not a member, get in there and take a look, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for attending.
All right. Take it easy, everyone. See you.